For Barcelona and FC Barcelona at the moment, of course, this is another of what is a referendum. I talked about it on the earlier show this week. This is another example of the rock bottom that Barcelona is now seeing on the field that we knew about based on their finances and Messi leaving months ago and months and months and months ago, and the way that this club was run. And now that's why Barcelona are in the state they are with the results that they're getting. And Bayern Munich is just a team that could win the Champions League. And I think I ended the match review by saying that, I mean, that's where Barcelona is at the moment, sure. But I mean, we're still Kool-Aids for a reason. I think there comes with a sense of privilege, this idea that the Europa League means that Barcelona as a club are finished, will never be back to the Champions League, will never be in a position of top four. That if this winds up being the worst season that Barcelona has in 21 years, and they're better than next season than they were this season, and they move up in the world more, I mean, they build on the project of where they are now, right? I keep asking, is this rock bottom? Is this what rock bottom as a team is going to look like, where they're just so far behind Bayern Munich, where tactics and no matter who he put on that field was not going to change that result? Nothing that no one Xavi had at his disposal was going to change in any formation, in any way, in any direction.
We did become a lot worse when Jordi Alba went off.
That is very true. We'll get to that in a second. Yeah.
You know, it was pretty even until then. Like, you know, they could have scored, sure, but we could have also scored. The moment that Jordi Alba went off, that just killed us. I felt that it killed us both emotionally, as well as tactically, because then all of a sudden, Dembele was all by himself. He wouldn't have anybody opening up that space for him, because you're gonna Mingueza on the left, which is something that I don't quite understand. Put Dest on the left and somebody else at right forward at that moment, because Mingueza, man. Anyway, we weren't going to go into tactics, nor am I going to pretend to understand the game better than Xavi. That would be ridiculous. But yeah, I don't get depressed that easily. But this is depressing.
Well, I mean, I'm wondering if I think the thing that has me most down about this match, I mean, not to say down about this match, but not to say hopeful for the future too, when you have to say goodbye to certain players. But in the case of Dest Mingueza, Dest that I've said for a long time is a player I like, that I think has a very high ceiling. But unfortunately, unless he can actually improve, like I keep saying, unless he can actually improve, then he'll be 22 years old in a year or two, or he'll just be sold over the summertime, and Barcelona already going to be looking for a replacement, and Dani Alves is just going to play out the rest of the year. I mean, that's after a match like this, 17 total touches for Dest, 5 completed passes, lost possession 6 times, dribble passed twice by Alphonso Davies. And it's not that Alphonso Davies is better than Sergiño Dest. I'm not reinventing the wheel by telling you that. But Alphonso Davies was so much better than Sergiño Dest. That is the worry. The worry is that Dest was so outclassed in 1v1. And you could tell, I mean, offensively, defensively, Alphonso Davies just was such a superior player than Dest. That's what you get the worry from, is that this is a player that, again, I have long said that has the potential, had the ability, if under the right system, with the right manager, if things worked, he has enough natural talent and understanding that he could reach a high level. But it seems like that it potentially stalled again under Koeman. And if Xavi does not find a way to unlock something for him at the age of 20, then he's just not as good. I mean, not as good as Alphonso Davies, but so far off the mark that Barcelona need to find another long-term option at right back, which is something they'll have to consider. And then Mingueza, who's again other than Dani Alves, the other right back on the roster, if you will, other than Sergio Roberto, who's out long-term with injury and potentially out of contract. Mingueza was even, not say more worrisome for me, but my hope for Mingueza was that he would be man number 21 through 25 on the roster. But if Barcelona are winning a Champions League, is Mingueza even 21 through 25? That was actually how rough it was today. With the second goal between he and Lenglet, I had praised Lenglet against Real Betis. I thought he played well. I thought he was, as you had said, I thought Lenglet was fine with Jordi Alba next to him. But then once Alba was gone, that combination of Mingueza and Lenglet was not it. It was just too slow, too out of position. And especially when Bayern rather were countering, they could either come through the middle with Coman would cut in, move out, Sané, the fluidity, those combinations, and yeah, it just wasn't happening. And especially on that second goal, there's this picture. It's just an indictment. Muller just raised up over him, heading it into the goal. Mingueza behind him, not even jumping. Langley doesn't even jump to try to take him off it. They're just behind it, and that's it.
That was the first goal. Goal.
Right, the first goal. Yeah. Right. And then the second goal was the Sané, which Sané was just up through the middle. Again, that was the other tactic thing that I want to ask you about was that what does Barcelona do? And I think for the Liga, if the Liga teams are looking at this and saying, hey, maybe we could do what Bayern did. What does Barcelona do with fast teams with wonderful first touches, when they man mark Busquets as Thomas Muller did, and they have a winger like Sané who can come through the middle? Because those numerical advantages were not working for Barca. It was just a 2v1 Muller, because Barca would turn the ball over and Muller would be right there next to Busquets. And then Busquets would have to track Muller and move with Muller, which left that wide open for Sané. And I found myself over and over again trying to figure out where De Jong was. But the answer was De Jong was pushed farther forward to support Memphis and Gavi and Dest and Dembele. So there was just a hole. And that distance, we talked about it before, that distance between Busquets and De Jong was just too wide again. And Bayern Munich, the second Barca turned it over, either from the wings or the middle of the field, it was Sané staying in the middle.
And with Piqué and Langley, you have two central defenders who prefer to cover rather than anticipate. Mm-hmm. Araujo as a right back, I suppose, to counter the threat from Davies as much as he could. Davies is just a superstar, man. He is such a good footballer, and people see his strength and his speed because that is what is easy to see. Most of us don't understand football enough to really go beyond. Oh, that dude is fast, and he puts himself in great positions. But he is that very rare player who, at such a young age, is physically so much stronger than his competitors, but also makes the right decisions on and off the ball. And that is just extremely rare, because usually a player who is so physically superior, he dribbled past Araujo, which most people see Araujo and they don't want any part of it because they know they won't get past him. Davies just took him on that the last goal. He just blew past him.
Yeah, nobody in the Liga did that for 10 months. It was 10 months before anyone in the Liga did that thing that you're mentioning.
Exactly. And what happens a lot is when you're physically superior, all the rest of your game suffers, because throughout your whole development, look at Alejandro Balde. People ask him, why does Balde not get a chance? It's because he's not a good enough footballer. It's because throughout his whole life, he's been so much faster and stronger than anybody else on the pitch that is what has gotten him by. But now when he has to take that next step and actually needs to consistently make good decisions on the ball, Balde doesn't get any game time. So for Alphonso Davies to play like that, and people say that he plays like that because he is fast and because he is strong. No, that guy plays like that despite how fast and strong he is. And hats off, I was extremely impressed with how he played. As for,
well, let me jump in quickly on the Balde and Davies stuff. That it's a bit, I think for Balde, you look at where both these were at 18. Balde is just trying to get into Barca's first team. When Alphonso Davies was 18, and I think the deal went through when he was 17 from Vancouver Whitecaps to Bayern Munich, and then he made the move at 18, obviously when he legally could.
Which is even more insane because he was not even schooled in Europe or South America.
Right, but well, this is actually the point I was going to make, that there's a confidence to him that fits Bayern Munich, because when he was 16 and 17, and I was already I'm working with Major League Soccer, working and watching him play. He was, for a terrible Whitecaps team, he was Vancouver's only option at times at 16 and 17. And when they knew that he was leaving at 18, that franchise was gutted because they were losing their most important player. And there's something about when you're 16, 17 years old, whether it was actually Yusuf Demir, I kind of hope that he would bring that in from Rapid Vienna, because there were times when Rapid Vienna would give him the keys of the castle and say, hey, Yusuf Demir, you're our guy here to create something and do something. You're going to be our main man. And so I hope that Demir would have that confidence. But yeah, for Alphonso Davies, when Bayern signed him, they signed a player that was the most important player on his team. For Balde, again, he's just always a member of the system. And for these Barcelona players, it does take a little bit longer. That, with the exception, actually, I think of Gabi, who has been the best player and been like the guy that his teammates have always looked to at every level. With the exception of Gabi, most of these other players were just one among many La Masia talents for a long, long time. And so I think there's even a difference in mentality, other than, again, being behind the 8 ball of decision-making. Well, where Davies was given the ability to fail at a bad Major League Soccer team here in North America when he was 16 and 17 years old, and now that he's not failing, and now that he's brought that confidence to Bayern Munich, I mean, he's ready to go. And you're right. I mean, physically, when you take all that confidence and all that understanding and all that responsibility, and you also make him a fantastic decision maker and technical footballer and make him a great athlete, yeah, that's how you get Alphonso Davies. So I just want to throw in that it's a little bit unfair for that. I mean, and then the only thing that was like really unfortunate about that too, as far as like the generational thing, was that Omar Richards, who's 23, Englishman, whatever, but Malik Tillman, Nanji, all these Bayern Munich kids who don't really play at all, who have to wait for their chance, get thrown on late on. Meanwhile, Barcelona put on 22-year-old Ricky Puig, Mingueza, and Coutinho. And then, yeah, we saw Nico, who's, I mean, a regular starter. So it's not a crazy thing. We've seen him before. Getting a Champions League spot is not that insane. And then Demir comes on late, really pretty much after you can affect the match. And so, yeah, I mean, it was one of those where it's like, would I have been happier if Balde and Ilias Komash came on the field? I mean, not really. I mean, right? It doesn't really change that much. Barca have enough youngsters figuring things out as is. But the worry is that, really the worst case scenario for Barcelona that I was thinking about, and it's only because Barcelona were losing in this match, was that Barcelona had this quote unquote dream team, golden generation coming up through. But there is this great possibility, just like Real Madrid 5 years ago when they were, or 3 years ago when they're signing all those Spanish youngsters, there's a chance that this generation doesn't work out for Barcelona. And that's the future that it terrifies me more than any others. You could go in a different direction here. I go back to what you were going to say after the Davies stuff. Let's focus on this match. You're right.
Well, even the Davies stuff, it was more of because we were talking about the reason that Araujo played on the right, which I don't think he was that poor. He was kind of okay. So you're asking about what are we going to do about Busquets when Busquets is man marked? And they exploit that space. Well, one of the things is if you have Busquets in a triangle with 2 center backs who do not anticipate, then that is kind of an awkward combination right there. So I think Busquets in front of Araujo and Eric Garcia is already a bit better, because you have Araujo who cleans up when people get through. You have Eric Garcia who anticipates very well. What hurts so much is I look at our squad and I see a group of players that should simply do a lot better than what we are seeing. People have been saying, well, the coach is terrible. Now people are saying, because hey, Xavi is the golden boy, so it cannot be Xavi. Now people are saying that the players are terrible. I don't think either is true. I think Xavi knows ball. I think Koeman, well, we talked about how Koeman completely lost it this season, but I think last season Koeman was decent, maybe even good. I think if we look at our squad, then there's obviously a problem that we have too many players that are either too old or too young, but there's still an incredible amount of talent. There are very few players who, you simply would not play. Umtiti, and I think that's about it.
Luuk de Jong.
Luuk de Jong, thank you. Yeah, I was doing my best to forget Luuk de Jong.
Yeah.
What we do see, however, is an incredible lack of balance that comes from not having any forwards who play well who attack the space well, and not having any fielders who burst through that midfield to attack space. So you have like a bunch of players who like the ball at their feet, and that's why we're not creating enough chances. And when we do create chances, we're not finishing them, because we do not have anybody who attacks space other than Ansu Fati, who is injured, and Martin Braithwaite, who is also injured, who is not good enough to be at Barca to begin with. But just because of his profile, we are missing him now that he is injured. So Dembele, he does not attack space. Depay does not attack space. Neither did Messi, of course, but Messi is so good that Messi is Messi. Griezmann, he attacks space. People say that he don't, but if you look at all of the goals that he scored for Barcelona, a good amount came off of forward runs, where he was being fed the ball. So in midfield, we have Frenkie de Jong, who is kind of okay at attacking space sometimes, but not really. Like,
it's out of necessity. It feels like it's out of necessity.
It's out of necessity, yeah.
Because that's right. There's no other options to do that job.
Exactly, because before he arrived at Barcelona, what did he play? He played second holding midfielder, and he even played as a central defender for a whole season, right? So out of necessity, we've turned him into a player who we want to attack and make forward runs. We have Gavi, who again does not attack space. Nico does not attack the space. Pedri, when he's back, is going to be the same issue. So it was not completely crazy that Koeman wanted Wijnaldum on that team, and now we see why. So I think, like, big picture this season, that is our most glaring issue. But even so, like, I do not see a team that should have to worry about qualifying for the Champions League, which I'm really worried about right now.
Yeah, there is some irony in having to watch Jamal Musiala, because he actually is that. Of all the teenagers, Barca have all of these promising, wonderful teenagers, but Musiala was the player that you're talking about, and he is that player for Bayern Munich, where he is a player that attacks the space in that way. Is he a midfielder? Is he a forward? Actually, it doesn't matter, because he attacks that space, and he does the job. He's in the places he needs to be, and you can't really put a position on him in that way. I mean, I think it's time now to talk about the state of where Barca is at the moment, because I agree with you that this is still a team, and I know Xavi said the things he had to say in the post game, where he talked about our focus is now on winning the Europa League, on qualifying for the Champions League, on winning the Copa del Rey. Winning titles is what Barcelona does, and that is what my goals are. And of course, he's going to say that. Any manager would say that. It'd be unwise, especially with the hounds of the Spanish press waiting for him anyway outside the room. That's the thing to say. But as far as where Barca is in the league, I mean, they're in 7th, and I think there are people saying that, they expect Barca to finish in 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. But I agree with you that even though we're in December, there are still many, many matches left to go in La Liga, and Barcelona have at least enough quality in that squad to be in the top 4 and be in the Champions League next year through their talent, through just the talent in the squad. And there's enough there to contend. It just has to all be put together. And as I've said from this match, and another thing that frustrated me about watching this match is that when I watch Villarreal and Real Betis, even though Real Betis was ugly and awful to watch, but even from that match, I can watch those 90 minutes and say, what did I learn? What is being built here? What is the project? What is the tactics? What players is he trusting? And there are things that you can try to extrapolate from those matches. And then I watch this one, I say, I mean, they were so beyond the level, or so below the level, that there's really nothing I can take from it. I mean, I don't think we learned anything. There's something. I mean, Xavi, if I was him, I'd just throw the tape out and say, I mean, this is not who we're facing week to week in La Liga. There are teams at our level we're facing every week in the Liga, not Bayern Munich. We don't have to face these guys. Throw this one out. Don't worry about this one. And so when it comes to Europa League and comes to Copa del Rey and come to Liga, I know people are being pessimistic, but Barca has a squad enough to compete in those competitions because that is where Barcelona is as a team right now.